Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Hope everyone is doing alright. Let me check my sound. A little bit late. Well, a lot bit late. I was attending to my wife. Miss Thomas is not feeling well. There we are. Good. Actually, let me check one more thing. By the way, I want to thank everyone for your support of the show. There's a link in the bottom. At this point, my account has been suspended. Well, not suspended. My account has been demonetized, at least for a month. I will be able to reapply after a month. But up until that point, Super Chat and everything else is shut down. However, if you want to donate, you can do so with the link at the bottom. You don't have to. It's just a heads up. I always have to say that because I feel weird having to even make the proclamation. As for another thing, I want to thank all the patrons and everyone else that supports the show. That's the second part. This is Patron Appreciation. The winner of Patron Appreciation for the day is E. That's it. That's the name. That's the name that's on the list. It's called E. Thank you very much. Oh, and by the way, I've chosen a person. You know what? I shouldn't have done that. Damn it. Because that doesn't make sense. If you're going to say the name of the person who won it, but you can't say the name of the person who won the t-shirt. I shouldn't have said the name of the person who won it. That's my bad. And I should have checked with them first. That said, the person who's won the t-shirt, I've sent them a message. I've asked them if it was okay for me to give their name. But E is the person who won it. I've already said his name. So E is the person who won this particular day. What he won, and the thing that he wanted, was a video or an analysis of Lee Camp's video. Apparently, Lee Camp did a video on feminism. I love this. You can imagine that's wading into somewhat treacherous waters. And apparently there was another video that criticized the hell out of Lee Camp for that video. So he wanted an analysis, a soapbox analysis of that video. What did I think of the video? So let's look at it together and let's have the video. I've seen maybe the first minute of this video. I figured I'd watch it with everyone else. So E, thank you very much. Congratulations to all of my patrons. Thank you very much. And this video is immediately going to be unlisted and put on Patreon at the end of this recording. Let's watch Lee Camp. God, I hope this isn't bad, Lee. I hope this isn't bad. Oh, are we going to have to shred Lee Camp? Are we going to have to shred Lee Camp? All right. All right, Lee Camp. This is treacherous waters. But let's see what he got. We can do it from here.
I can't stand when people, men or women, say they aren't feminists. And no, I'm not saying that just to get laid, all right? Welcome. This week's opening topic, feminism. I can't stand when people, men or women, say they aren't feminists. And no, I'm not saying that just to get laid, all right? I feel like if you're a guy and you just mutter, "Yay, feminism," everyone immediately rolls their eyes and goes, "Oh, dude, just masturbate, all right?"
I know he's making a joke. See, here's the thing. Is there reality to that joke? I don't know if there's reality to that joke. I never thought that way. And let me explain what I mean. Like, I don't know if that's true. I know he's making a joke, but I don't know if that's a reality to that joke, if that makes sense. Like, if that's true. If there's some guys out there who do that. I've never considered myself typical. So I never used to be in the crowd that used to think that way. I wasn't a jock. So I don't necessarily know if guys who are jocks do that in order to get laid. I have no idea. In times that I've said I'm a feminist, I've meant something very specific. The problem with saying you're a feminist is nobody knows what the fuck you mean. Everybody has a different interpretation of what that means. Sometimes what people say that means, it comes across as almost this it's this esoteric thing that they have in their head. It's not even a thing that they have in their head. It's a feeling. It's almost like an emotional signature associated with the thing that you've just said to them. I don't necessarily know if people do that just to get laid, though. I don't know anybody who has done that. Maybe Lee Camp does. Maybe Lee Camp hangs out with people who does that just to get laid. Fair enough. I'm not going to judge the people Lee Camp hangs around. Let's keep going.
Really, so that we can have a normal conversation without you humping legs. But no, I don't want to get laid. I mean, I do, actually. I absolutely do. But right now, I mean this. Feminism is a no-brainer. Equality for women. That's all it is. Women don't get treated like shit. How about that? How's that sound? You know, sound like a good idea? And a surprising number of guys go, nope, not a fan. I need a woman at home to clean up and make my dinner. Really? Do you really?
Is that what it is, though? Like, I gotta be honest, I think it's more diffuse than that. Like, have you met those people who say, it's like, you're a good one. Have you ever heard that? Like, if you're black, it's like, you're a good one, but those others. And what you're finding is, relating to the person as an individual is a little bit different than relating to what they consider to be this amorphous group. As an amorphous group, they're thugs, they're criminals, they're terrorists, they're whatever. And getting the opportunity to interact with them one-on-one, hey, you're not all that bad. I thought you were more of a horrible person. Now, the reason I say this is if you look at something like, and I know I'm applying this from the standpoint of race, but I think it applies even from the standpoint of groups. Because this goes to this idea of what people think of the other. Feminism as a thing. Well, they're looking at race to some degree as a thing, and as a amorphous thing. There's certain images and everything else that they may get on the radio, news, TV, whatever. But they have, ultimately, it's something in their head that they're perceiving about something. And the moment they come in contact with something in real human terms, it changes. At the very least, from the standpoint of the individual, because they realize, he's just a person. It's no longer an amorphous thing. It's actually something real, physical, and tangible that they're interacting with. And the perspective of it sometimes changes. It's not all over the case. You can have some people who are, off the fucking reservation. But if you're talking about just dealing with a person, just a good, decent person that has a certain view of the world that's broken the moment that that person comes in contact with the thing that they have in their head, essentially it ends. And I'm saying this from my own perspective here, or my own experience in this. Sometimes it changes. And yes, I know this is feminism. This is not necessarily these other things like race or religion or whatever. But I still think it applies. What is feminism? What do people think feminism is? Is feminism to me the exact same thing to you? If you are extraordinarily educated on the issue of feminism, are you really going to have the same perspective of feminism that I am going to have on it, as opposed to somebody else who you just find in bumfuck Louisiana? All of these people are going to have different perspectives of what this particular thing is, and none of them are going to have the same perspective of what it is. What's in their head that is feminism is going to be drastically different depending upon where they come from. I guess that's kind of my point. It's kind of hard to have the conversation of what is feminism and the reactions that people have to feminism. I think the dam breaks the moment that you can talk to somebody, providing somebody is not being a fucking lunatic. If you ask people, should women have equal rights? I think most decent people will say yes. Now, yes, most decent people. I think all decent people will say yes. Let me amend that. if you ask people, do you like feminists? I think you would have some decent people to say no. The difference between those things, that even though they're decent people, the difference in those things is the difference in what they believe feminism is. Because that's what I'm trying to get at here. One thing is a label, another thing is the reality of it. What people think of the label is a little bit different than what people may think of the actual reality of it. That's all I mean. I hope that makes sense. Let's keep going.
That idea comes from a time when making dinner took all day. Just to make eggs, you had to raise the chickens from scratch. From scratch! They didn't have these just add water chickens we have now. And then squeeze the chickens until the eggs came out, or however it works. I don't really know. But making dinner took the same amount of time then as building a bridge takes now, okay? But nowadays, making dinner takes 10 minutes.
It did not.
15 if you don't have arms. So there's no reason you need to devote a human being to cooking dinner all day. And even if you did, why does it have to fall to all women? Because you're an idiot, right? Hey, I've got the mental capacity of a chipmunk, so all women belong in the kitchen. It doesn't make logical sense. It's the same as saying, I need a bedtime story every night, so all Jews should have to read to me. What? Why? So women no longer have to serve the traditional role, and neither do men. The man used to have to go be the strong one and go out and work because every single job involved lifting big pieces of...
You know, this is going to be extraordinarily controversial to say, and people are going to hate the fact that I'm going to say this, but this is extraordinarily true. These systems... There are some women that like these roles. Understand what I'm saying? It's not wrong for them to like these roles. Like, what are you saying? This thing of being in the kitchen and all this, there are some women that like those roles. Now, I'm not saying all don't. I'm just saying that some do. It's not just the men in this case. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. Our society has evolved in a particular way. And in the way that society has evolved, women were in a certain disposition in that society. They've had to fight like hell, just like blacks, just like gays, just like all these other groups that were considered to be minorities. They have to push, and not even minorities, women. I don't even know if women were minorities, even though they were considered minorities, even though they shouldn't have been considered minorities. Fucking half the planet. But some of these things were, I don't want to say a caste system, because it's not a caste system in a traditional sense. It's almost like a cultural way of going about their affairs. I mean, women started entering the market from the standpoint of a war. At the point where the war efforts started kicking off, women started getting more into the job market. But up to that point, it wasn't this thing of, you know, women trying to push into the system and everything else. Now, that said, I gotta be honest, I don't know any man that thinks this way. And to some degree, it's almost like denigrating men in order to make the argument almost like a reverse argument. I don't know any guy who thinks this way. It's to some degree saying, you know, there's some guys who think women should be, I guess, barefoot and pregnant. And the Huzzles guys think women should be barefoot and pregnant. You know, they have the brain capacity of a chipmunk. I may actually agree with him on that, if I'm being honest. I guess my problem is I can't relate to it. I can't relate to it. Let's keep going. And maybe there's more, and we can go back and talk about it later. I don't know any guy who thinks this way. And so it's like, it's not one of those things I have direct experience with where I could say, well, I've met a guy like this, and this guy was XYZ, and I can get into the brain state of the person who thinks that way. I can't get into the brain state of the person that thinks that way. The only thing I can think of is that there is a certain advantage for them that they don't necessarily want to give up to society where they think a woman's place is X. That's the only thing I can think of. I'm in this place, I am in a better disposition, and that woman's place is X, and she is trying to essentially fuck up the order of things. Yes, those people exist. Those people exist. Unfortunately, those people still exist. Goddamn dinosaurs. Let's keep going. But, look, I don't know how many of them there are. But, so let's keep going. I don't know the context.
Metal and rock over your head. Everyone. Until, I'd say, 1978, 9 out of 10 jobs involved guys going, where do you want this? The entire economy was based on, you want this over here, over there? Over here, over there. The stock market, people would invest in over here or over there. So this really shouldn't be a difficult topic. Do you think it sucks that women are 51% of the US population, but only 20% of Congress? Do you think it's not cool that we're the only industrialized country without paid maternity leave? Do you want equality in the world? Then you're a feminist. Right now, there is not equality, and we need to fight for it. And again, you say that, and people roll their eyes and go, oh, fighting for equality? Does that mean I have to have bumper stickers and incense that smell like a daffodil's butt crack? One time I put a bumper sticker of Dave Matthews on my car, and it took the paint off. And I decided right then and there, I am never fighting for anything again. I feel very strongly that I don't stand for anything. No, you don't have to have a bumper sticker. All you have to do is say and act as if you want equality, and then you're a feminist. Some people say, look, men and women are different, such as women have vaginas, and men are the cause of like 90% of all murders. See? Different. And it's true, often men and women are different. Some women might like shopping, some don't. But even if it were all women like shopping, that still doesn't mean they should earn 10 or 20% less in the workplace. Hey, you like trying on clothes? You should have your daughter's sports team underfunded. And
I think the question becomes, like, what's equality in this case? Like, what does equality mean? And maybe that's the crux of this conversation. Because if you keep saying feminist, 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 and you're saying equality, equality, okay, what does equality mean in this case? Why is your sports team underfunded? I mean, oh man, I mean, I know people say women's teams or basketball teams are a little bit more technically precise. Look, I think people get stuck in particular ideas of the way things are. Underfunded, yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to wade into that water. I'm staying away from that one. I don't know what my thoughts are. I don't know where my thoughts are on that one. Let's keep going. It's just, my only issue with this is he is hitting men really hard in order to make the case for feminism, and I don't quite know why you need to do that. And I think to some degree people's angst about the word feminism comes from stuff like that. Like, if you're talking to men, when they hear feminism, they don't hear equality for women. They hear extra stuff for women. I'm just telling you. I've said before, I'm a feminist. I don't have any issue saying it. But I said that, and I have a very specific meaning of, I want equality for both. Now, if there's anything within the term feminism that means 51%, then I'm against it. Like, people are human beings. There needs to be a recognition of any kind of indifference that took place during the past. But by the same token, yeah, people are equal. There should be more to it than that. One man, one vote. One woman, one vote. Let's keep going. Let Lee Kent do his thing.
And be talked over by men at meetings because their opinions are more valid because penis. Doesn't make any sense. And if you choose to go the traditional route, that's fine. But it's a choice you get to make as an individual. And don't think something's better just because it's traditional. For a while, slavery was traditional.
By the way, this is true. That's perfectly true. Like, just because something came before, or just because something existed, doesn't necessarily mean that things should exist. Like, a thing's existence in no way necessitates it continuing to exist. He's right. Just because something is traditional doesn't necessarily mean something needs to continue to take place. There are a lot of bad shit that's traditional. Perfect example, slavery is traditional. Garno, I don't think he's going after men to any great degree. It seemed like he just kept hitting them in the knees. But I could be wrong on this. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. Let's keep going.
Dying from the flu was traditional. Cannonballs going through living rooms was traditional. I'm sure it was traditional in some places to have sexy time with a donkey on the farm. You know, that was probably tradition. I'm pretty sure this country was founded on a strong bond between man and beast. And I know that's uncomfortable to think about, but I'm not.
What is that dog doing? Wait a minute. Can you see, can you see this? Can you see this picture? Hold on. What is this dog doing? Oh, that dog is nasty. That dog is nasty. That dog is completely vulgar, man. That dog is completely vulgar. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Look, the crux of this issue, honestly, brass tacks, is what does equality mean? You ask anybody, will you want equality? The person would normally say yes. Nobody in their right mind would say, no. I don't think people should be unequal. I believe in equality, goddammit. And then you get into the brass tacks of what equality means, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. It's going to be different for Lee Camp as opposed to somebody like Paul Ryan. Like, there's no problem with this. There's nothing, I don't see anything wrong with this from the standpoint that it leaps out at me. He's doing a comedic routine and he's making this point of, look, for the most part, feminism stands for equality between people. And right now, what we have is not equality. That's his basic point, and his basic point is right. I think the issue here is whether or not what the label feminism means, as opposed to what Lee Camp is saying it means, versus what other people thinks it means. Because that's all I'm getting at. And for that matter, what equality means within the context of feminism. I think that's what the crux of this is. He doesn't necessarily hit that, at least I don't think he hits that. He hits it tangentially with this thing of saying, these are the things that are unequal, and having these things leveled will bring on to some degree of equality. But at the very least right now, these things are unequal. I see nothing wrong with the routine so far. Let's keep going. Where's it? Right there.
I'm not saying anything crazy. I'm just saying the founding fathers were pig f***ers. That's statistically speaking. Point is, I believe in feminism. I believe in equality for all women except for women who say they aren't feminists. Those women are allowed to be paid less than men, discriminated against, objectified and mortified, have random guys rub their shoulders and slap their butts or slap their shoulders and...
What? What? If a woman says she's not a feminist, she could be objectified and have her asses slapped. What the fuck? Wait, in fact, I'm going to let Lee Camp finish that because maybe he's going to clean this up before I say anything. Let's keep going.
Rub their butts, have some dopey dude with a ham sandwich for a brain get promoted ahead of them. And since they like values from the 1800s, they should have to live on an Amish farm. You know, this plan would give an outlet to all the Neanderthal guys out there. If we let the worst men be misogynist to only the women who hate feminism, it all works out, right?
He's not going to clean that up. He's not going to clean that up. Oh, wow. Yeah, dude, that's a fail. I'm sorry, that's a fail. That's an utter fail. If a woman decides to wear a burqa, like if she decides to be traditional, is she wrong for doing that? Yes, it's religion. Yes, it's cultural. Yes, she's picked up behaviors and everything else that she's brought on from one year after the next that hasn't necessarily changed for God knows how long. And yes, other women in her culture have decided to move forward on it. But is she wrong for doing it? No, she's not wrong for doing it. She can do whatever the hell she wants. There's no purpose. Yes, she's programmed to do it, just like other people are programmed into the capitalistic system or programmed to be a Democratic whatever. People are programmed in all sorts of things. She's not necessarily wrong for doing it. If you have somebody, let's say a conservative woman, who says, you know what, I like the old time values, I'm not a feminist. Do you realize that in her head, it's not necessarily that she wants to be grabbed on the ass. It's not that she wants to be touched and fondled a particular way or treated poorly or paid less. None of those things are true. None of that is true. It's the name association. That's kind of the point I'm getting at. That woman doesn't identify with feminism because she identifies with feminism as something else. Like it's the name association. She doesn't when Hillary Clinton is on, I think it's Jimmy Kimmel, and Hillary Clinton says, yes, I'm going to get them to open the books, and she says something about UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. She says they're called UAPs now. Why is Hillary Clinton changing the name UFO to UAPs? Why? Everybody knows that they're the exact same thing. It's the association. It's the cognitive association. She knows that people have 50, 60 years of all sorts of ideas wrapped up around this idea of UFOs. All sorts of conspiracy theories, aliens eating babies, aliens impregnating people, aliens taking babies, alien bringing babies back, aliens doing all sorts of things to babies. She knows it. She doesn't want to be associated with it. She's Hillary Clinton. She wants to run for office, but she also wants to talk about the UFO thing because she likes the UFO thing. She wants to open the books. She has John Podesta on her team. So what do? You call it UAPs. Even though people know what it is, the association is not necessarily there, or the very least, the association is not as strong. Not to mention, it's Hillary Clinton saying it, so they give it a certain amount of gravity. In this case, the term feminist itself is a loaded word, and it's a loaded word for a lot of people, especially for a lot of people on the right. It doesn't mean they want their ass grabbed. Doesn't mean they want to be paid less. Doesn't mean they want to be abused at work. They just don't want to be associated with your label. It's a difference in those things. It's a difference in those things. Let's keep going. I disagree with Lee on that one. Because look, I want people to support female causes. And I want people to be on this thing of, yeah, we're equal. I'm not better than you. You're not better than me. Fuck it. Let's just, have fun. We can debate on what equality means in this case. We're not going to be fair, unfortunately. I wish we were in the way that we engage in our politics and engage with each other. But if we were being fair, yeah, there would be some level. Like, for example, prenatal care thing. Everyone arguing over the Obamacare thing about whether abortions would be covered or birth control pills would be covered. Well, of course they should be covered. That shouldn't be up for debate. Now, there are some people who would have a conversation on whether or not it's fair to do that. I'll say, yeah, it's absolutely fair to do that. If you're covered in healthcare, that's part of healthcare. Somebody else says, oh God, but my Jesus doesn't like that. And so I don't necessarily want to have that covered as part of healthcare. And you get into this weird religious debate on something that deals with secular grounds. It's not that simple from the standpoint of equality. At least it's simple for me. But for them, They don't look at that as equality. They look at that as a Jesus thing. By the same token, looking at that as a Jesus thing doesn't mean they want to be slapped on the ass or paid less. I hope that makes sense. There's a somewhat of a gradation there. I completely disagree with them on it. And fact is, if it was me, I would just ignore them. Because politics is secular. I have nothing to do with your God. That's your religious belief. That's nothing to do with our politics. And you go about your way in the political sphere. But unfortunately, it becomes somewhat of a political issue. Now, people would say that's feminism to some degree to make that case. Meaning to say, yes, that should be included in it. I don't know why that should be an issue of feminism. That should just be an issue of women in our society should be able to get access to birth control if they need it. And it should be covered under the healthcare plan because that's an aspect of healthcare. There's some women who need it without necessarily this thing of having a baby, but need it just from their own benefit, just to go about their way. Yeah, I don't like that argument. I don't like that argument. I don't think... I guess I'm saying not wanting to be associated with the label is not the same thing as is not wanting the benefits of the label, if that makes sense. Their thoughts of the label are different. Let's keep going. Yeah, I don't like that, Lee.
Supply meets demand. The invisible hand of the free market holds up the invisible glass ceiling. Look, we do not live in an equal society. And if you don't think it's cool that women get unwanted yells on the street or fear for their safety or have a committee of men decide what they're allowed to do with their bodies, then you are a feminist. And I'm sorry to break it to you.
You know, a lot of this stuff, believe it or not, is completely cultural. Like, God, I'm going to get so much hate on this. The yells on the street and stuff like that, those things are... We're going through a societal shift, and this stuff is changing. It's like if you're calling somebody a Negro back in the 60s. Okay, Negro is perfectly great. You get to like the 80s or 90s, and it's like, hey, that guy's using the term Negro. It changes. The gradations change. You get to a situation where in the 50s, 60s, 70s, that behavior is perfectly okay. And then you get to changes within the society and the tension between the time where it's changing. I met a woman and her and I were talking. She was like 80, something like that. And she was around during this period where she was alive for all of these gradations, where she could see all of these changes throughout the course of her life. Look, if women don't want to deal with the catcalls, fair enough. Fair enough. I don't think people should have to deal with certain things that they don't, if they think they're threatening or something to that effect. For that point, men don't necessarily need to do catcalls. Are they... I think this goes too far sometimes. That's all. Let's hear him out. I don't know where he's going with it.
Coming to you from Washington, D.C., the belly of the beast is redacted tonight.
Fair enough. I don't know. I didn't hate it. The only part I hated was that last part where he's like, the women wanted to be grabbed on and so forth. I don't appreciate catcalls as degrading. Laura Auld. Right on. There you go. For me, I remember when and let me explain what I mean when I say it's a changing thing. And by the way, this is not a defense of catcalls. Fuck no. I'm just saying you can see the gradations, and you can see the changes that take place as these things go along. Jalil and I, one of my friends, best friends, we were playing chess over his dad's house. And his dad was with a friend of his. And his dad says, he says, back in the old days, he says, you guys got it good. And we're talking. And he says, I remember we used to take our knees and pry their legs open. And we were like, what? It's like, you're fucking rapists. Now, this is shocking to both of us. And they're looking at us like, what? If you don't, you see this immediate divide between how men related to women then versus how men related to women now. And the level of, I guess you could say, what's considered foul. I guess, yeah, what you consider goes over the line now versus what considered goes over the line then. And in real time, you can see that bar moving further. And fact is, Lee Camp is right on this. I mean, that bar needs to move. There is no reason at all that if a human being that's a male is doing the same job that a human being that is a female doing, shouldn't get paid the same. Zero reason. Even if you say, well, wait a minute, they could be pregnant and so forth. So what? They're a fucking human being. Even if it needs to be where the government, repays for the time that the person is gone. Whatever. I don't care the arrangement. Like, I don't get this thing where we pretend as if the sexes are somehow unequal in the way that they go about their jobs. They're not. They're not. So I don't disagree with Lee Camp on the basics of what he's getting at. I disagree with this idea that people should be affiliated with the label itself. There are going to be a lot of people who, yes, may support the things. For example, there may be a lot of women who are not consider themselves feminists, but maybe going after the Republicans for this thing of them trying to put Ben Kavanaugh up. The reason I say this is, if Democrats make enough of an argument that Ben Kavanaugh is going to get rid of abortions, they may be able to get, what's her name, Collins, whatever the Republican, I can't think of her name, I think her name is Collins, to give a no vote. You may have conservative women who still want the right to have an abortion. Those women in no way consider themselves feminists. Yes, they do want to maintain the right to have an abortion. If that makes my point. I'm trying to make that point clear on why I don't like this idea of this person must be affiliated with the label and there's nothing being wrong with affiliated with the label. We have a lot of people who have no idea what the label means and don't necessarily want to be affiliated with the label, that they have this kind of amorphous and sometimes hostile idea of what it means. So that's my thought of it anyway. Otherwise, everything Lee Camp said, I liked. I gotta be honest, as I get older, I've become less judgmental in an odd way, but more cynical. I know that sounds strange. We're in a system. We're fucking programmed in a system. My girlfriend is like the square root of a negative 100. A perfect 10 and an imaginary number. I was about to say that's an imaginary number. I got so paranoid about coming on too strong to women that I wasn't able to ask any out over a decade. That's sad. That's funny and sad. UFO HRC. Hillary Clinton calls them UAPs because she's covering up for the origin story. Technically, they're not flying from space. They're flying from... Their face has no concept. It's up or down or motion through a fluid based on pressure differentials. So UFOs and UAPs are both wrong. Covering up the origin story. Technically, they're not flying in space. The space is no concept of up or down. Yes, that's true. No concept of up or down. Or motion through fluid pressure differential. So UFOs and UFOs are both wrong. That's hilarious. Oh, I love it. I love it. Men resent women's sexual power. Again, in general terms, This manifests itself in societies that cover, exclude, secluded women. Yes. Garden, agree. Let's see. In these cultures, yeah. I mean, it depends on the culture. Different cultures have different, have different things. But in repressive cultures, I think so, yes. Jamarl Thomas, the part that you disagreed with was sarcasm, though. Oh, fair enough. You've become immune to sarcasm. My bad. Look, I wasn't sure if he meant that. My bad. I thought he meant it. I'm not immune to sarcasm. I just thought he meant it. Not slap him on the ass. I thought he meant the part of. I guess it's, if you're not on board with me, then go with them. But it's not either an us or them thing. It's a little bit more gradation than that. But I feel you. It's sarcasm. Fair enough. Your points that make a lot of sense to you. Oh, thanks, Soviet winter prison. Jamal, I'd be happy to join you on a video, Soviet winter prison. I appreciate that. Hey, Jamal, finally read my message. Yeah, I finally read the message. Yeah, my bad. I saw it. A few men behind cased walls choose conscripted the rest of the party under us. Jesus Christ, it's hard to read there. Let's read here. I got catcalled by women all the time when I was stripping, but seriously, we now know Jamal has never seen Lee Camp's show. I've seen Lee Camp's show a lot of times. I just missed the sarcasm in that one. I thought that was real. You must understand, my perspective of feminism is a little bit more militant. But again, this is the perspective of feminism. I've seen some very angry feminists in my day. In my head, we're equals. If it's 50.1%, then we're not equals. That's how I see it. Now, the problem becomes, what do you mean by equals? And that's where everybody falls apart. I suspect that's Lee Camp's point. At the very least, what we could agree upon is what it is right now. It's not fair. We should be militant for equal rights. Yes, agreed, John Doe. Metalhead. Are you offended by me, Danny Knapp? Uh-oh. UBI is how we start to achieve equal feminist world. Nicholas Locke. I think I know why you're saying that. So if a woman has a kid, or if a woman, let's say, is married to a husband and that woman wants to leave her husband, that woman may get stuck with that husband if that woman doesn't necessarily have the means to live. Meaning the marriage may go on longer than what the marriage needs to go on because that woman gets, let's say, stuck. And maybe that's wrong. Maybe you're going in a different direction with that. That's the first thought. I do think UBI is a start. But see, I wouldn't call it universal basic income. Or at the very least, I wouldn't. We have a weird bias in our society with giving each other things. So it's not something where we understand just because of the way the society is weird. I would make the argument that the UBI is essentially money coming from the resources of the land itself. You've lived in this particular country. It's your birthright. Congratulations. And because you've lived in this country, because you're going to get a congratulations for being an American, you were born here, fucking A, here's a universal basic income. Do with it what you will. What you would immediately find is people would immediately dump that money directly into the economy. You'll get a boost to your economy. Lift all boats. As opposed to giving the money to the rich who essentially put in their bank account. Hillary proves that women can be warmongers too. Yes, they can be. But Laura, it's an interesting thing though. The question always becomes, is Hillary, or let's say women, are they showing out for the men Meaning, are they being that way because they don't necessarily want to come across as being weak? I have two women who I think of as my feminist models. And this is getting into treacherous waters. Captain Janeway, Starship Voyager. I'm going there. Starship Voyager, or Wonder Woman. Now, let me explain why I think both of these women are feminist icons. And in fact, let me just do this before I get into some treacherous waters. It was her origin story. It was her origin story. I think the attributes that a person has, especially the ones that are positive, should be utilized. Men are great at brute force. Not necessarily the best at gradation. Not all the time, and not all men. And sensitivity is not usually the strong suit. Now, some of that has to do, particularly if men are in groups, that it doesn't necessarily embolden sensitivity with one another. Meaning men don't necessarily embolden sensitivity in other men. Just not a situation where men are around just weeping with one another, holding each other. Oh, God! Yeah, that doesn't happen. From a cultural standpoint, that's not something that becomes a positive in men. That said, from the standpoint of women, this capacity to be a hard ass and the capacity to be sensitive. Essentially, you're not giving up who you are in order to do the job, which is why I like Janeway in making this point. Janeway never had to give up her sensitivity in order to be captain of that ship. She was her, while at the same time being at times a hard ass. Now, I say this to say, this is a positive. I don't see this as being a negative. In our society, for whatever reason, that's considered to be a negative. I think that's fucking insane. There are times where it works. There are times when you need that. There are times where Janeway's sensitivity got in the way where she made a bad choice. Yes. The doctor trying to sing opera, the doctor would have been considered a toaster if I was on that shit. And the doctor would have been whistling Dixie as he was doing surgeries. By the same token, she had to deal with essentially a crew. And that crew needed somebody to be more than just somewhat of a hard ass. Meaning a Picard would have had a much harder time dealing with the situations that came up in that particular crew. Her, you can say it, femininity, if you're going to say it that way, was a value. And it's something that men would have been having a hard time to replicate. If anything, it's one of those things that I don't like this thing that women have to shed this aspect of themselves. It is an aspect of themselves that I actually think is a positive to somehow behave in political life. Now, this is not fully their fault. They do this for political expedience. They do this because the society to some degree demands that they do this. You can't have somewhat of a weeping willow in the White House. People value strength even when strength is wrong. It's just the way it is. It's not necessarily a valuable thing. Now, you can be strong and anti-war, and even then people will see that person as being somewhat strong just in the stance that the person is taking as anti-war, but they can be castigated as weak. And depending upon the political situation, they could be essentially undermined in that political stance. That's a door that you have to walk through. This is Neo in the Matrix. That's a door you got to walk through. That's an agent that is going to be at the door at some point. When the Skripal attack came up in Britain, and the Prime Minister comes out and says, fucking Russians. The Russians did it. Those goddamn Russians. Those red, those Ruskies. They did it. They did it. They killed somebody on British soil. And we know they did it. We don't even need an investigation. Now, they say they did an investigation. was under the rug. I mean, ultimately, for the most part, they condemned the Russians before doing any investigation. Shit, I lost my place. God damn it, I lost my place. I had a point, and I missed my point. Let's see. Damn it, I missed my point. Oh, I know what I was saying. Janeway. Yeah, they value strength. Over anything else. It pushes the person to behave in ways that the person wouldn't otherwise behave in. And otherwise a person can be attacked and undermined if the person doesn't do it. Yeah. I think Hillary Clinton is just a warmonger just to be a warmonger. Other people, I don't know. If the person was coming up with a person... Oh, I know. Jeremy Corbyn, the door you have to walk through. They're going to red bait you. They're going to go after you on the standpoint of that person is going to be weak on defense. Jeremy Corbyn, they say the Russians did it. Jeremy Corbyn is standing in the White House Parliament. Jeremy Corbyn says, we need to test this first. We need an investigation first. That's the most sensible thing any man has ever said. Okay, the most sensible thing any man has ever said at that particular moment anywhere on the planet. And they booed him. Like, think about this. The most rational man in the room gets booed. But Jeremy Corbyn turns out to be right. Somebody else ends up getting killed. Well, not killed, but injured. One person dies. Portendown is in the middle of both. Jeremy Corbyn said, we need to get more evidence. They didn't do an investigation. That's the door you have to walk through. The catch is, Jeremy Corbyn held his shape on that. He held his shape. He didn't lose support when he held his shape. He maintained his support. I'm making the point that's a door you're going to have to walk through, whether you're in the United States, whether you're in the UK, anywhere else. The moment that you take a strong anti-war stance, you're going to be castigated as weak. Meaning, if a woman gets in power, she still has to take on a certain demeanor in that office, hardening her. The question becomes, can those attributes show themselves in the political climate that we have? You can say in the cultural climate that we have. I don't know. I do think both of them are examples of women that were able to maintain their shape, maintain their femininity, while at the same token, kicking ass. That's my thought. Call me sexist. That sexist pig. Sexuality demonetization. Sexuality demonetization. We all demonetize sexually so harshly in this country. We punish women for even being curious about it, let alone experimenting. Society should be a safe net in case mistakes happen without judgment. Agreed. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. You have no idea how much I agree with that. Peter Dow, feminist model. Peter Dow has two feminist role models, Goldwater Girl Hillary and President Hillary. Even as her action figure. God, that's so funny. Goldwater Hillary and President Hillary. Sexuality thing. Yes, I agree. We fuck up sexuality in this country. We laugh at Muslim countries. In how we consider them repressive. And we miss it in our own country. Like, the idea of somebody being naked in society is mind-blowing to the people of society. Why? Why? Do you have something that this other guy doesn't? Probably not. Maybe bigger, smaller, stouter. This guy's, this woman may be a little bit chubbier, smaller. I'm just saying, people are different to a degree, yes. But is it that much different than if you had a video game character and you were just changing the model around? Not really. You're just bound to body in this case. I wish we had got to a point in our society where we were taught differently in schools, and that the education system went beyond just what we go about in our education system. Like, two things. One, exposure, meaning all the people of the world being exposed to the other people of the world. Wars need to stop. It's god-awful wasteful. Think of how many resources went into killing each other in World War One and Two. It's fucking amazing. Think of all the resources you waste and throw away on military equipment, military hardware, guns, weapons. Think of all the people that die and get killed in those weapons and conflicts. Think of all the people that get fucked up in the head, fighting and shooting, and getting muscular and thick-jawed in order to jump out of some airplane in order to rip somebody's head off. How wasteful energy is that? All of those people could be in school. All of those people could be building something. So fucking wasteful. I don't think human beings are a wasteful enterprise. Bayonetta is literally my favorite female video game character. She is proud of her sexuality, uses it as a source of her power, kicks ass, and still is smart and interesting personality-wise. I love that. Yeah, and that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I don't think you need to give up one in order to do the other. That's my point. Let's see. Jamarl, war can't end. Business is booming. Krillin 876. Unfortunately, they would deform women using these corsets. Oh God. Endoc, Trump needs to prove he doesn't have AIDS. What? What? What's her name said he was mentally degrading. Omarosa said his mental faculties are degrading. That's fucking hilarious. Fucking hilarious. E, you're watching JP too much. You've lost all credibility. Oh God, my people are fighting. Booming, Balthazar. Tabitha, it would crush organs. You're talking about corsets. Yeah, corsets. All this banter JTs lead up to jumping on the Kamala Harris bandwagon. Yeah, fuck that. Fuck that. This is not going to be a put your weapons down and run the other way show. It would take. I literally want political change. Like, not bullshit change of this person is put in office. Change. Fundamental change. And I don't think I'm atypical on this point. I don't think the majority of the people on the planet, or at the very least in this country, because that's for the most part all that matters from a political standpoint, I think they're with me on this. I think the anger and frustration that's aimed at Washington and the media is getting this across. I think they're incessant talking about Trump in the theatrical sense without dealing with any of those issues to some degree is the glossing over of what's underneath a certain degree of rage at this establishment. The question becomes, what happens that sets that off in a way that pulls it down? And what does it mean on day 2 after it's been pulled down? It's unfuck, Jamal. Unfuck. I would say the complete opposite is true, honestly. Eval. Let's reference Jill Stein in this context, or Susan Sarandon. Susan Sarandon is badass also. I like Susan Sarandon. Jamal wishes we were living in the damn Handmaid's Tale. You know I have not seen the movie yet. I mean the television show. I haven't seen it. Guy McPherson said we avoided extinction for another year because the smoke cooled Arctic a little. I say the earth, let the earth heal itself. Put stay-at-home moms in charge and sit back. Jamal, can I ask for your thoughts on the topic in a private medium? John Larkman. Of course you can, John Larkman. Send me an email. It's at the bottom, Jamarl Biz. Should be think read book and saw a movie. Is the show any good? I haven't seen it. Bill Maher's a pig. Lord Ald. What did Bill Maher say, Lori? What did Bill Maher say? I try to get Democrats to think logically. I'm done with that now. They're morons. Metalhead. No, Metalhead. They are thinking logically. It depends on what you mean by thinking logically. They believe that Trump is bad enough that they can get elected again off of Trump. They don't believe they need to change anything in order to get elected. So if you believe that you can get, it's brinksmanship. Well, fine, we lost all of these seats, but now that people see how bad Republicans are, they'll put us back in office. We don't have to change a thing. I'm telling you, that's the thinking. Look back at those debates between Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Joe Crowley. Joe Crowley was stumped. He was horrible at debating. I have no idea how Joe Crowley kept his job that long. She ate him alive. Shouldn't there be more concentrated resistance against the corporate war on free speech? You would think so, but there doesn't. No one seems to care. Like, perhaps this is just the thing that's in this corner of the web. That's possible. That's completely possible. But it seems to be happening in various corners of the left. Mark believes he's absolutely right. Toxically. Gavin Erickson. No one cares because weed is illegal, so everyone went home. Look, they got their free weed. That's all they needed. Their bread circus. Do you think the status quo would continue? I think status quo will continue until it can't continue anymore. That's what I think, honestly. Bill Maher's an anti-white pig who screws teenagers. Anti-white? Where did you get that one from? Did you guys watch the Bill Maher with Malcolm Nance? They want to go with what? Yeah, they're lunatics. They're doing this stuff because they're distanced from those things. Bill Maher, I'm a rich fuck. At this point. You know, they took my person out by releasing factually true information showing that they were cheating Bernie Sanders. Bill Maher didn't give two shits about them cheating Bernie Sanders. But all of a sudden, he's up in arms. About true information being released about Hillary Clinton. The sad part about this is, based on their narrative of events, people were so perturbed by the information that was released. They were so shocked that it gasped by what Hillary Clinton was that they recoiled at factually true information. The very act of showing people who your candidate was made those people reject your candidate. Think about that shit. That's what they're saying when they're saying an attack on democracy. That's fucking insanity. That's utter insanity. It's much easier to just say, attack democracy. Because if you say it the other way, it just sounds completely ridiculous. And so I took a call and threw a fit about Bernie being cheated 2 years late. That's funny. Jimmy Dore is awesome. Yeah, Jimmy Dore is awesome. Remember how unbeatable, how inevitable Hillary was because the media made it? Yeah, yes, Bob, yes, agreed. They're creating reality. They were trying to create reality. That's exactly what it was. Hillary Clinton is awesome. Hillary Clinton is going to win. Hillary Clinton has a 90% chance of winning. Oh, Hillary Clinton lost. A reality show who's beat the stuffing out of Hillary Clinton. Yeah. says the person with the ass emoji. Oh God, they're fighting. They're fighting again. Lefties can't get along. Alright guys, I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna go check on my wife. Miss Thomas is still feeling crummy. Speaking of strong women. Look guys, I've said this on the other shows. Thank you very much for the support on Patreon. You guys have been an amazing help. Seeing as Google or YouTube hasn't, paid me this month. You guys are, or next month. It's always a month behind. I appreciate it. I guess that's my point. Thank you all. HBOHNO. And now HBO is owned by AT&T, and so more truth with the side of dropped call and terrible customer service. Watch a dragon drop out of the sky next season on Game of Thrones because of poor reception. That part is so funny. Watch a dragon drop out of the sky next season on Game of Thrones because of quote unquote poor reception. Drop out, dragon drop out. I hope you get it. That's fucking hilarious. That's fucking hilarious. Alright. This is awesome. Guys, you all have a good one. Thank you very much. Like I always say. Put in your comments for next week. Meaning, ideas for the show. Put them in under this video. It's going to be under Patreon. So, patrons, put it below the patrons, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Under the Patreon video, there's the ability for you to put down messages. Put what you want for the next show to be at the bottom. There's something else and I can't remember what it is. Yeah, there's something else. I can't remember what it is, but I'll have another show before then. So, thank you very much, guys. I really do appreciate your help and assistance with the show. Thanks, everyone. And good night.